one more time. I think he has the biggest hands I've met today. One thing that Lieutenant Bermudez talked about is the propositions and trying to stay apolitical on them. One of the jobs as your police chief is to talk to you about things that are going to affect public safety in our area, not just in El Segundo, but around us in the South Bay. Several of these propositions, I believe, are going to affect how we do our job. We've had proposition, you guys know who Prop 47 is? I hope everyone in this room knows about basically making misdemeanors out of all drug possession charges, making a misdemeanor out of theft of a firearm, making misdemeanors out of having possession of date rape drugs, making a misdemeanor out of going into a department store and taking property, which beforehand, if we could show that you entered with the intent to commit theft, would be a felony, now is a misdemeanor if it's under $950. And so you know, crooks are very smart. They realize that. Some of them carry calculators. So they know what they're stealing. I'm not kidding you. This is not just from us. This is from our brother agencies from around the state telling us this. So we've had crime increases in El Segundo. We're up 12%. About 2.5 months ago, we were up 26%. And the Field Operations Bureau, the Administrative Services Bureau, which is the captains over there, Captain Ivansky and Captain Turnbull, put together a new formula of how we're going to attack and address crime in our city, how we're going to impact it. And they reorganized our department and put all of our assets in patrol. We have limited assets. We've had officers that have left. We put more assets in patrol. Those assets are all committed now. And now crime, we reduced it to 12%. But it's still too high. I believe that if some of these propositions pass, it's going to go higher because some of them are going to be releasing people who are currently in custody for what they say are nonviolent crimes. And so you understand this. You don't get to the state penitentiary usually on your first attempt. The average is 5 crimes committed that would put you in the county jail. So it's like graduate schools for crooks. That's what it is. And then they graduate to the state penitentiary. We have had 30 to 40,000 released already due to AB 109, people coming out of prison and back to our society, a governor's proposition, which he had to do due to the federal jurisdictions telling us that we had overcrowding for medical reasons in our state penitentiaries. So we have that many returning felons, people who cannot follow the law, have been returned to the general area. And guess where most of these people live? In Los Angeles County, because we put the majority of people in the state penitentiary. Now we have a proposition coming up. It's one of the most, the ones for you to make sure you educate yourself on it. Proposition 57, the Public Safety and Rehabilitation Act. It sounds great. Please read it. It will release people who are currently in jail back to society who I believe still should be in jail. So please read that proposition and vote accordingly to what you believe is best for this, best for your city. One of the jobs as a chief that I get to do is I get to sit on a board that we take a look at new legislation coming up that would affect public safety. Captain Turnbull sits on that board with me. Captain Ivansky sat in that board for another organization. Just recently, we had a proposition a year ago that came up, not a proposition, but a law that would have allowed homeless people who are in vehicles to park on any street they wanted to, and no municipality, no city could pass an ordinance that would allow the law enforcement officers to remove that car. So in other words, they could sit wherever they wanted to for as long as they wanted to. And that was defeated. It came back again, and it was defeated again, but it will come back next year. We have a very liberal state legislation right now. They are trying to please a number of different people, but a lot of that pleasing results in crime. What do we talk about? The quality of life type crimes, quality of life type issues. And they really tie the hands of the police. So keep that in mind. So with, we have the quality of life issue of the homeless. Bobby, what are some of the other ones we were taking a look at recently? Death penalty, Cal gangs, people who are put into a Cal gang database, having the ability to basically bring the law enforcement agencies that puts them into it to get it taken out. They want to have the ability to have themselves removed so they're not associated with gang members. You don't get put into that database unless you are a gang member. Marijuana, just so you understand, here's another one that just came up. And for you people in the room that are under 18, it is no longer a crime for you not to pay for your ride on the metro or any other public transportation system. It is not an administrative fine. They took that ability for law enforcement to write an infraction or arrest on a misdemeanor. So now it is an administrative fine. And this is what we're seeing is they're tying law enforcement's hands to deal with issues. Whether or not we would take that person into jail or whether we're at them a crime, they're making it so we can't do anything about it. We have a Death Penalty Reform Act. You're going to have two coming up. One has to do with the removal of death penalty, which is Proposition 62. Proposition 66 will preserve it. Please take a look at them both. I believe the death penalty does have a say in this community for the most egregious of our violators. Just a little bit about our crime. When Lieutenant Bermudez talked about it, we have a dramatic increase in grand theft autos and in property. That's our primary. But we also have a 25% increase in robberies in our city, which is disturbing to us. You are our best line of defense. I need you to participate. And when you see something that is unusual or odd, you need to call us. If you think it's odd and you're contemplating it, call 911, call our business line 310-524-2760, which will go to dispatch. It's better for you to call than for you to sit there and worry, why didn't I call? So I need you to participate to help us help you. Let me see. Any of the other ones, Bobby? Marijuana Reform Act is coming up. We're going to try to legalize marijuana. I would just tell you that Colorado and Washington, where legalized marijuana is in its infancy, there's a lot of issues that have come up that were not thought about until it's been in law for 2 years. One is the increase in DUI driving while under the influence of marijuana. Currently, California has not passed, or will they pass, a per se law for the nanograms of THC, the active psychotropic ingredient in marijuana. They won't pass that. There is no law for that, so we don't have a per se law. There's been an increase in child overdoses of marijuana, of the edibles going to the emergency room, dramatic increases. So it's just not such a benign drug when it comes up that you say, oh, people can smoke marijuana, what's the big deal? Another issue they're having are people who are smoking marijuana in adjoining apartments or homes. The people call police because the smoke is waffling in their house, there's nothing they can do. And I'm telling you, these are things that are coming, they're here, and law enforcement pushes against it. But we need your help to talk to your politicians to understand that I want you to have a safe community, and I can't do it when we're getting our hands tied behind our back. Anything else, gentlemen, on the laws? Jaime? Anyway, thank you very much. You're going to have a great demonstration today. Officer Cameron and Sergeant Jones are going to give a great demonstration today on what we do on an active shooter. And I really, too, hope you enjoy it. And thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming out today. Appreciate your support. My name's Sergeant Tom Jones. I worked at the police department for the past 18 years. My current assignment is weekend graveyard patrol shift. So when you guys are asleep in your beds on the weekend, I'm keeping the streets safe for you, me and my crew. Previous assignments that I've had, I've worked K-9 officer, I've been narcotics officer, field training officer, and my latest assignment was community lead officer before I got promoted to sergeant. Today we're going to talk to you a little bit about active shooter situations, what you can do when you're out in the public. It's kind of geared toward workplace violence too, but you guys can use this at home or when you're out in the public. It's going to be a quick overall presentation on active shooter stuff. We're going to show a video at the end, and we're going to answer any questions you guys have. My partner, Joe Cameron, him and I have been doing this for the past couple of years. I'll let him introduce himself to you guys.
Good morning. My name is Joe Cameron. I've been with the department for 7.5 years. Mainly worked patrol, and then I worked community lead officer with Sergeant Jones here until he promoted, and now he's my boss on weekend graveyards. So, a little bit different now. Like he said earlier, this is a pretty basic active shooter presentation, so if you guys have any questions at the end of the video, please raise your hand, ask us any questions on active shooter or anything that has to do with law enforcement. So first we'll go through workplace violence, and then we'll start talking about the active shooter. Violence in the workplace It's violence or the threat of violence against workers. It can occur at or outside the workplace. It can range from threats and verbal abuse to physical assaults and homicide. These are some trends that the FBI has come up with for profiles of aggressors in workplace violence. They tend to be younger than 40 years old. They lack social skills, tend to be the victims of teasing. They don't take criticism well. Maybe they're having some financial difficulties at home. Violate company guidelines all the time. They're aggressive, explosive at the workplace, and they don't accept responsibility for anything. Hostile conflict at work or home. Like I said earlier, financial difficulties is a big one. Legal, domestic problems, constantly coming into work under the influence of alcohol or drugs. And a big thing the FBI is pushing right now is if you have someone that you work with that's never talked about owning a gun or ever, going to the range, and all of a sudden they're buying a lot of firearms and they're going to the range and they're telling you all about it, it's an indication that something's going on. Some red flags: current high levels of stress, threats of homicide or suicide. But we just talked about recent purchase of weapons, a lot of substance abuse, and a history of being abused or neglected. Some diffusing techniques that you guys can use: approach determines response, be calm, seek to understand, maybe be a good listener rather than, looking at them with a weird face. Just, listen to them and then go talk to somebody about it. Use teamwork, be prepared to deal with the unexpected. Does anybody know the definition of an active shooter, or what you think an active shooter would be defined as? Anyone?
All of a sudden somebody stands up with a gun and starts shooting randomly.
So the active shooter executes a random or systematic shooting spree, and their objective is a mass murder rather than criminal intent. So we like to show up 3 different shooting scenarios, because everyone thinks that when you have an active shooter, you're going to see the guys in green, the SWAT team, the Bearcat, and everything like that. When you have an active shooter, you're going to see the frontline officers, the guys that are dressed in blue like this. This is it's a fluid situation. We don't have time to go back and get a Bearcat and all that, the big Humvee and all the toys. This is a fluid situation where the guy's on patrol. And sometimes, most of the time, it's not just going to be El Segundo Police. It might be Manhattan Beach Police. We're really close to LAX, LAPD, Hawthorne. Everybody will start coming here. So it'll be a patrol response. We talk about barricaded situations. That's where you have a SWAT team come out when someone's held up in a house and they have maybe a hostage or something like that. So when you have time on your side and you start, bring out the SWAT team, have the negotiators out there and stuff like that. Hostage situation, same thing. Active shooter, where this is a patrol response. What is the mentality of an active shooter? They're not concerned with dying, so they have nothing to lose. Their goal is a high body count. They want to kill as many people as they possibly can. They move throughout a building until they're stopped by police, they commit suicide, or they're stopped by others like you guys. Reviews of 279 active shooter incidents from 1966 to 2012. 98% acted alone. 91% committed suicide, usually on site. 80% used a long rifle, so those are those big guns that you see on TV. 75% of those people brought multiple weapons, so now we're not just dealing with one gun, we're dealing with multiple weapons. The shooters are preoccupied with obtaining a high body count before police can intervene. Most of these individuals are wearing body armor, so now for the patrol officers going in, we're trying to take out a suspect or suspects, and they're wearing the same body armor that we're wearing. They're dynamic and quick, finishing their attack in an average of 8 minutes. How long do you think before you call 911 that an officer would show up? Someone raise their hand. Anyone? No, not that long. We're looking at like 3 to 5 minutes, depending on what kind of call we're on. But just think, of 3 to 5 minutes, you're already that long into an 8-minute problem here. So sometimes we'll show a video, and at the end, it's going to talk about fighting back. That's where you're going to have to fight back. A little more current stats from 2000 to 2013, some FBI statistics. 160 incidents occurred between 2000 and 2013. Average of 11.4 incidents annually. And we'll get back to more of these numbers on a few slides on what exactly these mean. shows an increase continuing to go. And FBI is coming up with their 2014, 15, and 16 statistics right now, but it's on the rise. Does anybody have any idea of why these active shooter, or what you believe to be the reason that these active shooter incidents are on the rise? Increased people, is that what someone said? Release of prisoners. And a lot of it, in my mind, has to do with the media, how they're putting it, and everybody wants to one-up everybody else, right? They want to be the next person on TV. The media has really been blowing this way out of proportion. Pie chart, a lot of it's happening, 45% of it's happening in commerce, 24% in education, 10% in government buildings. Like I said, we'll explain what these charts mean in a minute. So major findings from the FBI's active shooter incident study. Between 2000 and 2013, a full list of 160 incidents used to study, including those occurred at Virginia Tech, Sandy Hook, the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum, Fort Hood, the Aurora, Colorado movie theater shooting, and the Sikh Temple of Wisconsin and the Washington Navy Yard, as well as numerous other tragic shootings. Active shooter incidents are becoming more frequent. In the first 7 years, the study showed an average of 6.4 incidents annually. In the last 7 years, that 6.4 has jumped up to 16.4. These incidents resulted in a total of 1,043 casualties. All but 6 of the 160 incidents involved male shooters, and only 2 involved more than one shooter. So you're seeing a theme of one shooter going in. More than half of the incidents, 90 of those shootings, ended in the shooter's initiative, i.e. suicide, fleeing, while 21 incidents ended after unarmed citizens successfully restrained the shooter. So we'll go back to the fighting. When you guys have to, run, hide, or fight. I think you guys all got the pamphlets from our department. The last thing you'll see in the video is you might have to fight back. 21 of those 45 incidents where law enforcement had to engage the shooter and end the threat. 9 officers were killed and 28 were wounded. The largest percentage of incidents, 45.6, took place in commercial environment, followed by 24% that took place in educational environment. The remaining incidents occurred at the other location types in the study. Those were other spaces like the military. You guys heard about the Navy Yard shooting that happened? That was a workplace violence incident where he was getting bad reviews from his boss. And one day he came in and he studied where everybody ate breakfast in the morning. And there's an atrium above the breakfast spot where they eat. And that morning he went up because he knew everybody congregated in the same area every morning to eat breakfast. And he went up on top of the atrium, and that's where he shot down. First active shooter, 1966. So this is not something new. This has been going on for a long time, and that's why it's my opinion that the media has been blowing this out of proportion, and that's why everybody's trying to one-up each other. So this is Charles Joseph Whitman, University of Texas shooting, August 1st, 1966. He was a former U.S. Marine and engineering student. He was 25 years old. He killed 17 and injured 32. Anybody know that there was female active shooters? Well, there is. Professor Amy Bishop, University of Alabama, Huntsville. She's Harvard educated. February 12, 2010. She killed 3 and injured 3. She worried about her tenure and blamed specific colleagues that she worked with. Since 2002, 4% of active shooters have actually been female. So there are female active shooters out there. Anybody know who these 2 are? Virginia Tech. Anybody know who this one is? Seal Beach. This is just to show you that there's no real profile for an active shooter. It can be anyone. Some more active shooter examples. Everybody remember the North Hollywood bank robbery? 1997, it's a failed robbery that changed law enforcement response weaponry drastically. Wounded 13, 9 of those police officers, 4 bystanders. Both suspects were killed by SWAT after a 44-minute shootout. Shooters had body armor and they're armed with AK-47s. Has anybody seen that? Everybody seen that video? You go on YouTube and just YouTube the video, it's insane. And that drastically changed the way that our response and weaponry. Before that, we didn't, you guys, sir, we got the ARs right after this incident, correct? We only had shotguns in our patrol cars, same with LAPD, and they were very outgunned in this battle. They had AK-47s. So when this happened, we moved to get AR platforms in our car, and now we have AR-15s in our cars. Columbine High School shooting, 2 shooters. There were 2 angry teenagers killed, and they killed as many students as possible after being bullied for years. They killed 13, wounded 21. They both committed suicide. They used long rifles, other guns, bombs. Changed the way law enforcement responds to school-related active shooters. I think we just talked about the Virginia Tech shooting. April 6, 2007. He had a history of mental illness, posted pictures before, and mailed info to NBC during the shootout. Killed 32, wounded 23, numerous weapons, committed suicide. We talk about rehearsing the event. We go back to, if you see something, say something. This individual rehearsed this event numerous times. What he would do is he would go into Virginia Tech and he would call 911 from various points in the college. And what he would do is he would see how the police responded. And what he noticed was every time he called 911, law enforcement went in the same door every time. So what do you think he did that day? Chained that door shut. So when they went in, doors are locked, they had to go around, and he had more time to continue shooting throughout the college. So we go back to, if you see something, say something. If you see somebody outside of this church and they're going around and you've never seen this person before and all of a sudden they're taking photographs and you're like, that's kind of weird, call us. Anywhere, if you're at Ralph's on Sepulveda and you see someone that doesn't look right, call us. We'll come and check it out. Colorado movie theater shooting, July 20th, 2012. He set off tear gas, killed 12, injured 70. Everybody's aware of this, San Bernardino shooting. December 2nd, 2015, mass shooting and attempt bombing, killed 14, injured 22, act of terrorism.
Some El Segundo incidents.
2012, everybody remember the Serve Best on 132 Center Street? Suspect stabs 2 employees. And 2013, the Popcornopolis incident. Suspect makes threats to her supervisor at work, and the next day the suspect enters the office with a handgun and orders all employees out and holds the hostage. Suspect barricades herself for several hours and eventually surrenders to police. So things do happen in El Segundo as well. The Boeing example.
It's actually April 18th, 1996.
How do you protect yourself?
All right, like Officer Cameron said earlier, these incidents aren't going to be going away anytime soon, so we're going to need your help as much as we can get it. I'm going to talk to you about some things you guys can do to prepare yourself for one of these events, or if one of these events happens, what you can do, whether you're in a mall, whether you're at work, whether you're somewhere out in the public where there's a lot of people. If you're inside of a building, one of the things we recommend is to run away and get away as fast as you can. That's going to be your best line of defense, because if you get trapped in the building, who knows what's going to happen. So run away from the building or run away from the shooting if you can. The second thing we recommend is not to activate a fire alarm. That's one of the no-nos, because what does that do? It means everybody walks out in a single file line down a stairwell to a certain location. Well, these people who do these active shooter incidents, they know that kind of stuff. So if you guys can't run away from the shooting or the active shooter, then the next thing we recommend is to hide, shelter in place. If you're in a building, lock yourself in a room, lock yourself in a bathroom, lock yourself somewhere that's secure, that has a solid door or wall against it, not anything glass. Lock yourself in and try to hide. When you're inside the building, if you can, call 911, put your phones on vibrate, so if they call you back, it doesn't ring. You can whisper. If you have to, you can leave the phone line open, because the dispatcher can hear in the background what's going on, and they're going to understand that something's wrong. Whenever we get a 911 call where no one's answering, if they hang up, we still respond. So if you leave your phone open-ended, we're still going to show up. It's just that if it's open, the dispatcher can probably hear shots going on and give us a better indication as to what we're responding to. Don't hang up the phone, leave it open, try to stay calm. And then the last resort, if your life is in danger, you guys are going to have to fight somehow, whether that means grab chairs, grab furniture, somehow try to distract him, one person distract, one person attack. Your life depends on it at this point. So that's the 3 things: run, hide, fight. That's what we talk about doing. If you're outside of a building, the best thing you can do is seek cover and concealment. Cover is something that, like a large engine block or a brick wall or something that's going to stop a bullet. Concealment is something like bushes or a tarp or something where they can't see you, but a bullet can penetrate. So obviously your first choice is going to be cover, and then second is concealment. So try to get out of the view of anybody who's maybe shooting out in the street. And then again, run if you can. If you can't, just try to hide as best you can. And as a last option, fight. So kind of the same thing as when you're inside, except now you probably have more places to run to, and you're probably able to hide a little bit better. So when you guys call 911, here's some things that the dispatcher is going to want to know from you guys. So this is where we're going to need your help to know what we're getting into and how many people we're dealing with, what kind of weaponry, things like that. So we're going to want to know the location, office number, room number, building. We can pinpoint GPS on cell phones, but you may not be calling from a cell phone, or it may be in a building or structure that doesn't get good reception. So we're going to need to know exactly where you are. You're going to tell the dispatcher exactly in what building, what room number, et cetera, where you're at. Any hazards for people present and responders, or people responding. What kind of, if you saw a guy with a gun, what kind of gun did you see? How many shots have you heard? Have you heard explosions? These kind of things prepare the officers that are arriving on scene what to expect. I mean, these people, they set booby traps and bombs along the way. So we need to know that kind of stuff. You guys are hearing explosions go off. If you've seen multiple shooters, that's going to change the way we do things too. Injured people. Now this is something that's, you guys are probably not going to be used to, but something we train with is when there's injured people, our first priority is to stop the shooter, to stop the shooting. So we may, in fact, bypass people that are injured to try to stop the shooter, because we need to stop more killing, right? Then at the end, when we at least clear the area, we can have the fire department come in. But they're not going to come in until the threat is gone. So there may be injured people laying around. That's something you can tell dispatch when you talk to them on the phone. At least we have an idea of how many people that need to be triaged, but we're not going to be able to get to them right away. It could be an hour, it could be even longer, it could be less. Kind of what I talked about earlier, some of the things that dispatch is going to ask you, what's occurring, what are you hearing, what are you seeing, suspect descriptions. If you know the name of the person, it could be a coworker, if it's somewhere where you work. They're going to want to know all that information. As much information as you can give them is going to help us out when we arrive on scene. How long has it been going on? Did it just start? That kind of stuff. They're going to ask how many involved. This is the kind of what I just talked about. Describe what they look like, the type of weapons you've seen. Is he wearing a bulletproof vest? Multiple weapons, more than one person, all that kind of stuff. As much information as you can give dispatch is going to help us out. So here's kind of what our response is going to be. So our goal, like I said earlier, is to locate, isolate, and contain and stop the shooter. So again, we're going to get on scene. Our priority is not going to be to help the injured. Unfortunately, there's going to be probably a lot of people injured. We got to stop the shooting so there's no more injuries. Everyone in the building is going to be considered a suspect at that point. So one of the things we recommend is just follow the whatever commands the police officer gives you. Put your hands up, drop your phone, whatever. You guys got to follow what he says to do. One other thing of note that you guys should know too is we're in a very small city. We have a lot of surrounding cities around that are going to respond to something like this. You're going to have agencies from LAXPD, Hawthorne, Inglewood, Manhattan. All the surrounding agencies are going to respond. So you may not necessarily see an El Segundo officer giving you guys commands. It could be a Hawthorne officer. Just do whatever they say. If they tell you to walk out in a single file line, walk out, keep your hands up, and you guys should be good. Don't walk towards them. Just obey them, what they have to say, and then keep your hand visible at all times.
If you guys can put tourniquets, put one for yourself in your purse, have some if you're at work, just beef up your medical kit, because when it does happen, you're gonna need it. And however long, large the building is that we're searching, you're gonna be there, and you could bleed out in a few minutes, and a tourniquet's gonna save your life. So start beefing up your medical kits at home, beefing up your medical kits at work. You can buy them on eBay, you can buy them anywhere around, just get the super duty ones.
So when you're involved in one of these events, or one of these events takes place somewhere where you're at, fear is going to kick in. These are some of the things you got to remember when fear kicks in, because it's going to change the way things happen with your body. Your sensory exclusion, distortion, your time's going to be distorted. You're going to have a heightened sensory response. You're going to panic. You might faint. Loss of fine motor skills, loss of gross motor skills. tunnel vision, things like that. So my biggest thing that I say is always have a plan. Wherever you're at, always have in mind, what if this happened, where would I go, what would I do? You know, how am I gonna handle this? Always have in mind something you're gonna do for a plan. Always have a plan. So as a review, active shooter incidents are unpredictable. They can be carefully planned with specific targets. Be prepared and considered and know what actions you're gonna need to take. Report any suspicious activity or behavior anytime you guys observe it. We're never too busy to respond to a suspicious person call. So always call, never hesitate. A lot of times we get calls 10 minutes later and you know, what would have been better if we got the call right when you guys saw it. We're never too busy to handle those kind of calls. We're gonna show you guys a quick video. It's a reenactment of an active shooter incident, and then we'll answer any questions you guys have on it, all right?
A morning that began like any other turned tragic today when an employee opened fire on his supervisor and fellow coworkers.
Students, parents, teachers are asking why today after a bloody rampage plunged this campus into tragedy.
Details are just coming in, but we're being told that a heavily armed gunman opened fire this evening at the mall food court behind me. There's no official word on any casualties yet, but one eyewitness reported seeing at least 6 people shot.
Active shooter. A gunman or gunmen killing or attempting to kill people in a confined, populated area.
You gotta get some sleep. You're looking like a vampire.
You sleep. You ain't got no babies at home keeping you up.
What the hell? Ah, Sim again.
We've tried. I'm sorry. We're gonna have to let you go.
Active shooter killings are a tragic, unpredictable reality, and one that's becoming more common.
Since 2006, the U.S. has averaged an active shooter event with 4 or more deaths every 2.9 months.
Even though the number of active shooter events has been increasing, your odds of being involved in one are still very slim. But just like fire drills and earthquake preparedness, making a plan in advance can make all the difference.
Yeah, but lizards live in tanks. I mean, it's probably fine.
If you do find yourself in the middle of a senseless attack, the why doesn't matter.
Hey. Hey, buddy.
Hang on, something's happening.
What matters is surviving.
On average, 20 mass shootings take place in the U.S. every year.
Killers usually choose their victims at random. They look for easy targets. So the harder you are to see or to hit, the safer you are. When an attack starts, if you can find a way out of the location, do so.
Get out.
If you stay calm and think clearly, even in the middle of a life and death event, you improve your chances of making it out. Visualize your movements in advance.
What are we gonna do?
Look at me, look at me. I can get us out. Stay behind me. Stay down.
Use cover, something that will stop a bullet, and concealment, something that at least keeps you out of sight.
Attention South LA units, code 3 response needed regarding a 245 DSV 417. This will be at the Town Center shopping mall. Suspects wearing a face mask, possible body armor.
Use any available means to get out, including emergency exits or windows. Most restaurants and retail locations will also have exits in the back, through kitchens or stock rooms. Even in the best cases, police are minutes, not seconds away. You must take action to protect yourself.
Okay, everybody stay calm. It's probably just a drill.
No, go back, go back.
Oh my God, come here.
If you can help others without putting yourself in unnecessary danger,
It's gonna be okay.
do so.
It's gonna be okay.
What's your name?
Lori.
Lori? It's gonna be okay.
If you can't move safely to an exit, get to a room or a confined area you can lock down. Then secure the location.
Secure your location.
Oh my God.
There's somebody shooting.
Everybody stay calm. Remember how we train. Everybody get in this corner, away from the windows. Get the emergency bag from my desk. Help her.
Drywall won't stop a bullet, but there are steps to take to stay safe. Lock or barricade the doors, turn off the lights, move away from any windows, and silence your cell phone.
The other door doesn't lock. Move desks or anything, just block it.
A modern emergency bag can include a first aid kit, gloves, emergency plans for the building, and casualty cards to alert first responders to any wounded victims.
Most active shooter situations are over in 10 to 15 minutes.
Attention Lakeway units, code 3 is needed, red 245 GSV 417. It's going to be at Alexandria College. Multiple victims down.
Law enforcement's first responsibility when entering an active shooter situation is to stop the suspect, not to render aid to the victims. Medical teams will enter the scene as soon as the suspect is no longer a threat or is confirmed in another location. Silence any cell phones and remain quiet. Do not alert the shooter to your presence.
Sheriff's Department, is there anyone inside?
Red card.
Just hang tight. We'll be back to get you.
Defend yourself.
If you cannot escape the location and you can't shelter in place, you may have to defend yourself as a last resort. Almost anything can be turned into an improvised weapon. Look for something that can disrupt the shooter's ability to see, breathe, or control their weapon. When law enforcement arrives, they are going to be in a heightened state of readiness and awareness, looking for any aggressive movements. So keep your hands visible and follow any commands you are given.
He's a shooter.
What happened? What happened?
Oh, it's just a shooter. I just saw one shooter.
Especially in developing situations, engaging law enforcement, running toward them, reaching for them, even to thank them, could put people at risk.
Surviving an active shooter. For more information,
Thank you. Seriously.
visit activeshooter.lasd.org.
So that's the end of the video. I'm going to turn it back over to Lieutenant Bermudez, who will introduce our next speaker, and then we're going to take questions about everything at the end.
All right, that was a great presentation. So next on our list, what's that? So next on our list is Detective B. Jones. She is primarily handles juvenile crimes, but the way our detective division works is whoever's there handles any crime we got. So she's going to talk a little bit about crime trends, crime numbers in our city, and if you have any questions about investigations.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you guys for coming out. Let me just state for the record, it's unfair to put me up behind this. I have no PowerPoint. I have no videos. I have no partner to hand the mic back and forth with. So I just want to state it for the record. As the lieutenant stated, I'm a detective with the El Segundo Police Department. I do work primarily juvenile crimes, but I've been in law enforcement for over 20 some odd years, and we can kind of go back and forth between the various types of crimes that we handle. I'm going to talk primarily about property crime, or crimes that I think you guys would be most interested in. Burglaries. How many, just show of hands, have you ever been the victim of a burglary? Any type of burglary? Vehicle burg, residential burg, commercial burglary? Yeah. The city of El Segundo isn't exempt from that. I think overnight we actually had a few burglaries. When we talk about residential burglaries, they could be anything from someone actually breaking into your home to someone breaking into if you have a carport that's attached to your house, to your residence, and they go inside the carport, those are also labeled as residential burglaries. We've had 2 residential burglaries in the last week alone. And I think in both those cases, I believe they went into a carport and cut a lock and took bicycles. The one thing about burglaries, residential burglaries, I would say this: we have to harden the target. That's the one thing we do. When you go away, just show of hands, if you were to go out of town for a particular amount of time, how many of you actually notify, like, your neighbor that you're gonna be gone? Excellent, that's good. Better, it's more than what I thought we would see. You can also notify the police department if you're going to be out of town for a while, and we do have volunteers who will do regular checks on your residence while you're gone. The best thing you can do for residential burglaries is, like I said, harden the target. You have to lock your doors, lock your windows. I know, I hear this so many times. I live in El Segundo. It's a safe city. Believe me, we're happy when you say that you live in a safe city and you feel like, we protect you, but we're not exempt. And criminals know that sometimes people who live in safer cities kind of get complacent and get relaxed. And so, you live by the ocean, you want to leave your windows open. We get that, but understand, criminals know that as well. So we ask that you lock your windows, lock your doors, even overnight, you have to do that. Unfortunately, we live in a time where we can't leave those things open anymore. Vehicle burglaries. We've had 1 vehicle burg within the last 7 days. With vehicle burglaries, we have to remember to keep valuables out of sight. Keep valuables out of plain view. Lock them in your trunk. Cover them with something. And lock your doors. Lock your doors. I won't ask, but I know in working patrol, and you go out and you take a vehicle burg report and you say, were your doors locked? And sometimes people, they go, oh no, I don't bother locking my doors, or they don't know. So you have to lock your doors, roll up your windows. A couple other things I want to mention. Just because we've had a couple of incidents in our city, and they're very common scams that are being perpetrated right now in these times. One is the IRS scam. Anybody heard of the IRS scam? Show of hands? Yeah. Unfortunately, we have people that fall prey to this all the time. You get a call from someone saying that they are a representative of the IRS, or you may even receive just a voice message that states that you are in violation, you are behind, you owe money. And basically they'll give you a phone number to call. And I don't know about you, but I'm really not trying to be the enemy of the IRS. So, it may spark some concern. And they may call, call the phone number back. But understand this, if anyone is asking you to wire transfer money, the IRS does not act, they don't conduct business in that way, okay? So they're not gonna ask you to wire money to pay off your debt. That should be your first clue. Or they'll ask you to put money on a prepaid card, like a green dot type card. That's not how they conduct business. So that alone is a red flag, okay? I don't want anyone to fall prey to this. And then the other scam is the kidnap scam, where someone will call and say that they have they're holding a loved one, a member of your family or somebody you know, hostage or hold them kidnapped, and they will require you, the first thing that they tell you to do is you don't hang up the phone. They tell you, don't hang up the phone or we'll kill them. So people, they're afraid. They're afraid to hang up the phone because what if? What if they have my son? What if? So the next thing they'll tell you to do is to go to the bank and to withdraw money and to wire that money. Once again, wire, transfer wire, or put it on a green dot card and send it somewhere. And I know people don't want to take that chance. What if? Because it is somebody that you love. But understand, these are common scams. And by holding you on the phone, they're preventing you from being able to call that loved one to find out if they're okay. Or sometimes, even if you can, maybe you can't get them on the phone. So we've had at least 2 or 3 of those type of calls. So be aware of that and call the police. You're gonna have to call the police and get us on the phone. And then the other one, the third scam that's common is the Edison scam, or it's a utility, some type of utility, but it's usually with Edison where they call and tell you you're behind on payments. And once again, they will ask you to transfer wire money or put money on a green dot card to pay that debt. I won't go into too much further. I will stick around to answer questions. I don't want to stand here and kind of lecture to you and spew the crime stats and all that. I'd rather want to know what questions you have. So by all means, if you want to know what's going on in detectives or you have a particular question about something that happened to you, I'll stick around afterwards and be more than happy to address anything specific. Okay? Thank you for your time.
Just one more thing on these residential burglaries and vehicle burglaries. I don't know if any of you read the Daily Breeze article, that, the investigation that Torrance just wrapped up, Torrance Police Department. Did anybody read that? Okay, that was a 2-year-long investigation into, they had a really bad residential burglary problem in their city. And don't be fooled. These people that are breaking into your homes and your neighbors' homes, they are hardened criminals, okay? Torrance targeted the East Coast Crips gang, and they were very sophisticated on how they did their operation. They knew not to drive, the 1998 Honda Civic beat up. They were renting high-end rental vehicles and driving those around. And they were just combing the neighborhoods, looking at who was home, who wasn't home, what time you left. They would study you. They would study you and you wouldn't even know they're studying you. I remember one particular, Tom and I interviewed an informant, and we asked him, how do you guys do this? And he said his particular, what they call a set group of people, they would drive around the neighborhood about 5 a.m., look at what cars were in the driveway, and then they knew that with ADT, that if you had your windows open, your alarm wasn't on. So they would just comb the neighborhoods for open upstairs windows, and they knew your alarm wasn't on. And those are the addresses they would pin down on their piece of paper, and they would come back 8 o'clock, see if that same car was in the driveway. If that car wasn't in the driveway, they'd knock on your front door, go around to your back, usually break in your slider. So they study. These guys have police scanners. They're listening to where we're at. This is a sophisticated group of people that are doing these crimes.
Two more things I want to add. First of all, I just want to reiterate what was stated earlier. If you guys see something, please, by all means, I can't stress it enough, you have to say something. If it looks strange to you, if it seems strange to you, we would rather you call and let us check it out and it turned out to be nothing, as opposed to not calling. And the other thing is surveillance cameras. A lot of people are putting surveillance cameras on their homes right now. That's huge, and that is extremely helpful to us as law enforcement. I'm actually putting them on my house as we speak. So if that's something that you've considered, I would say I would absolutely encourage it, even if it doesn't help in situations. It can not only help in situations where you would be the victim, but it could actually pick up something where maybe your neighbor was the victim of a crime, where we see the suspect just walking by, or they're going door to door. You caught them at your door. They didn't break into your house, but someone was going door to door and they broke into your neighbor's house. So surveillance cameras are huge, and we would absolutely encourage them. Thank you.